Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Bricktober, where we talk about all things ghosts, goblins, scary, magic, nighttime, all the stuff that makes Halloween great. And we are going back to what makes Halloween great for me, and that is the original Universal monsters. Now, some of you may remember that about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago at this point, we took a look at Jada Toys' Frankenstein. We took a look at the Frankenstein monster in color. We took a look at the Jada Toys Next Level exclusive Frankenstein monster that was monochrome in black and white with the operating table. So that only stands that we follow it up with the Bride of Frankenstein. And this is one that I was looking forward to getting open. I can't wait to see how she looks next to Frankenstein himself. And quite honestly, out of the movies, The Bride of Frankenstein, I think, is actually a better movie than the original Frankenstein movie. But that's just me. I really liked this movie. This is probably one of my top 5 of the Universal Monster movies. Now, taking a look at the box, it's what we had with Frankenstein, where it's a very Spartan box, have the Universal Monsters logo across the top, Bride of Frankenstein across the bottom, a little bit of stylized woods going on here. Big window box so you can see everything you're getting. Up top, we have the Universal Monsters logo again, window to let light down through. On the side, we have a great graphic of the bride right here. And we're going to get back to this, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more once we get the figure out, because there's something about this that kind of disappoints me. And then we have the 3 of them, Frankenstein, the bride, and the creature on the side, once again with the Universal Monsters logo. Unfortunately, no Dracula. What can you do? Then on the back, we have the cross-sell for the 4 monsters of the first wave: Frankenstein's monster, the Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, and the creature of the from the Black Lagoon. Now, what's not included here that we also have that we'll take a look at is a Entertainment Earth exclusive creature from the Black Lagoon that is a glow-in-the-dark, and that looks pretty cool. So I'm really excited about this. I really like the Universal Monsters movie series, not just getting these figures. So, without further ado, let's open up the box and let's take a look at Jada Toys Universal Monsters, the Bride of Frankenstein. All right, here she is, the bride, out of the box, and putting the tape measure to her, we can see that she is approximately 6¼ inches tall to the top of her big electrified hair right here. Bringing her up to the camera, the first thing I want to talk about is that at first when you look at her, because of the coloration and the fairly monochromatic look of the figure, you may think that this was another one like that Frankenstein's monster that we looked at, that may have been done in black and white, but that's just not true, because you can see the red on the lips, and you can even see a little bit of color in her eyes. I think that there's a little bit of blue in there, and she has some coloring, some ruddy coloring on her cheeks. So this is not a black and white figure, and I kind of feel like they put the lipstick there just so that you know this is not a monochromatic figure, because truthfully though, there's not much color they could have put anywhere else on here. Now, taking a look at the face sculpt, I think if you've seen the movie, the original Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein movie, I think this is a fantastic likeness of the actress that played the bride. And I'm sorry right now, I can't remember what the actress's name is, but if I have a chance to look it up before I publish this, I'll put it along the bottom right there. But I think this is a fantastic likeness of her, especially with the big electrified beehive that she has going on. And I really love how you can see the detail and some of the line work in the silver electrified streaks going up along her hair right here. I think this is a great face portrait. I like the eyes. I like the furrowed brows. I like everything, like this neutral look, but also kind of like a very upset, what am I doing here? Why am I alive again? Type look. And going down to the rest of the figure, while there's not much to speak of as far as the paint apps go, I really like the texturing and detail work they put into the body sculpt right here, because even pulling up her gown, let's get her arms up first. Pulling up her gown, you can see that they continued that onto the body sculpt as well, when they didn't have to, because they could have easily just said, okay, this is going to be covered up, we can just make this smooth. But they carried that body sculpt and that coloring and that bandage texturing through the entire body right here, and it is fantastic. And on the back here, if you did want to take this gown off with some ease, there is a Velcro strap right here that you can open it up and then push it down off of her shoulders. I am not going to do that because I always have a bear of a time trying to get these things back on. But I just wanted to show you some more of how that wrap, that texturing continues around across the upper torso and her back. That there's a real good amount of sculpt and paint app and detail work here that is going to be hidden by her cloth goods gown. Now let's just Velcro the bride back up, and we will take a look at her articulation. And the articulation, honestly, for as good as Frankenstein's monster was, the articulation for the bride is kind of where things, we get a little bit of a hang up. There's, whoops, we'll look at that in a second, but there's really no tilt for the head. There's a little bit of like quizzical side to side, but nothing major. The head will do a full 360 spin. She can't really look up, which is a shame because one of the iconic poses of the bride is like her shoulders are down and she's looking up at Frank screaming. So maybe there we can get a little bit, but not too much. But yeah, there's not much for up. There's some good for down. The arms will do a full 360 spin, and the arms will come up 290. It doesn't look like they'll go much further. Now, you may have noticed that when I moved the arms, I grabbed it like this, and the reason for that comes to our next point of articulation, which is the bicep swivel, which you may have been noticing, and it really stands out because of the strapping. You may have been noticing that the bicep swivel seems to want to pull away on its own. Like you can push it. You can push it so that it goes back up in there, but eventually it's going to sag on its own again whenever you try to do any movement. And if you try and use the arm to lift the articulation, you can see how it sort of separates there. That I kind of try to get my fingers around that joint specifically and lift from there. It is especially difficult on her right arm over here because for some reason her right arm, both at the elbow and both at the shoulder and the elbow is really stiff, and you can see that that bicep joint also is definitely wanting to pull away. So you have to try and get as much leverage on that as you can. Now she has single jointed elbows that come up to roughly 90, and then she has swivel at the wrist, hinge in and out. And the hinge in and out is very easy. Let's get her arms up out of the way. Underneath all of this, you may have noticed when I pulled it up the first time, underneath all of this, she does have an ab cut right here, just below her chest line, so that she can crank back a little bit. She can crank forward a lot, and that's also where her waist articulation comes from. So she can get some good articulation out of that, because there is nothing down here at the actual waist. It's just all in this ab cut right here. And looking at the legs, while the gown is up, the legs will go forward, the legs will go back, the legs will come out fairly well to the side. You have thigh swivel, you have double jointed knees with some really great travel to them, ankle rocks back, ankle rocks forward, and forward facing pin for some rocker. One thing that I do want to draw attention to that I think is a point of valid criticism is her gown right here. That this is a very featureless, very flat gown. And not only that, it has some horrendous stitching that you can see the flap folded over and stitched right here down the side, as well as down the back, that you have these 2 points right here that truthfully both of these should have been wrapped around and put on the back here, I feel. Also, as I said, it's very featureless for all of the detail and the sculpt that they put into her body mold, for it to just be covered with this white bag, basically, that there's not even anything like cinching up the waist to give it some body. I don't know. The other thing that makes this a little upsetting is that if we go back and we look at the box, they had an idea for a better looking gown that you can see it's maybe a little bit fitted a little more. It has a robe overlay going along with it that you see something hanging off of the shoulders. it just seems to lay better. And I understand that these are just concept pictures right here, and this is the actual figure. But it looks like they had something better planned. And I'm not going to bag on or like say the figure is bad just because of this. It's because of how good I think the sculpt, the detail, the face portraits, the paint apps. It's because how good I think all of that is that the mundaneness of her gown just really stands out. Standard out of the box, the bride has these open, splayed out hands. She also comes with another pair of hands that are two fairly unique looking. That this one on her right here is in mid wrap, that you can see the bandage hanging off of it. The back of the hand, the fingers are still wrapped up, and you can see the bandages coming off of her digits right there, which that's kind of a cool look. And then this one, and I don't know if this has any significance. I can't remember this in the movie. Unfortunately, I didn't watch the movie in prep for this review. I was planning on watching it tonight, actually. That it looks like she's throwing heavy metal horns. Like, I really don't remember what the significance is of this look from the movie. But one other thing I want to draw attention to is this finger right here is very weak, very loose, and I was very worried that that was just going to break right off. However, Jada makes it very simple to replace the hands, that it has the wrist peg just like everything else does, but you can see how easily that comes out, that there's really not a set of like ribs or anything in there that's making it stick. It's just the pressure. So you can take that hand out, and then this one just slides right in very easily, just like that. And then another accessory that we received, of course, is her iconic screaming head. Because truthfully, if you've never seen The Bride of Frankenstein, but you're familiar with The Bride of Frankenstein, I guarantee this is the facial expression that you're most familiar with. And this also is a fantastic likeness of the actress, and it's a fantastic, just action screaming voice. That I've said before, I'm usually not for expressive face portraits. I like things that are a little bit more neutral. But with The Bride of Frankenstein, you have to get this. Because as a matter of fact, if you're setting up scenes, specific scenes especially, with Frankenstein's monster from the movie, this is how you want to display her. Now, when you pop the old head off, and the old head, the original head comes off with ease, sometimes a little too easy, if you see that, and then you put the other one on, that it doesn't really give you, you just have to kind of mash it on there. It doesn't really give you a good pop to get the head on. And you still have all of the rotation, not a whole lot of tilt, can't look up, can kind of look down, but it looks good on her. Like, most people I would be willing to bet are going to be posing her like this just because of how iconic that look is. And then this head actually pops off a little tougher than the original one, that I kind of feel like the peg hole in this one, let's take a look here if we can see. I kind of feel like the peg hole in the secondary head is a little too small to receive the ball joint. I'm not sure, but yeah, why don't we take a look at that you can see it's like, it's a double dumbbell, it's a dumbbell joint right there. But I feel like the hole on the secondary head is just a little too small to properly fit on the stem. And then finally, that brings us to the diorama piece that she comes with, if you want to call it a diorama piece, and that is these. And these, I believe, are the electrodes that she was chained up to when they juiced her, and either when she came back to life or when she just brought the house down. So these are very cool. These, I think, even posed up, displayed up with the lab table that we got from Frankenstein's laboratory with the black and white monster, I think this would look really cool. And much like we got with Frankenstein's monster, these chains are real chains. These aren't plastic. I really like this. I really like that Jada, whenever they have the chains involved, gives you real chains. Because if you remember, Frankenstein's shackles are made with real metal chain as well. Now, there's no shackle on the end of these, but you can sort of pose her and just loop the chains around her wrists like she's holding on to them if you would want. The only only minor problem with that is because there is some weight, you have a little bit of a trick posing her so that the weight of the chain doesn't pull. You see that? Doesn't pull the electrodes down, and it doesn't pull the figure down either. This one is a little bit more sturdy because you even have this additional foot hanging out there. I wish both of them would have been done like that so that you could have those on the inside. So you can have those on the inside, and it gives it a little bit more support for standing the post up at least. But I really like these. This is a really nice touch. And once again, much like that screaming face, it's kind of a necessity if you're going to pose the bride like this. And now for size comparison, let's start by matching her up with fellow Jada Toys Universal Monster, Frankenstein's monster, and we can see that there is a noticeable size difference between the two of them, as it should be. Here she is with Hasbro Marvel Legends Black Widow movie series Black Widow and Lady Deathstrike. And here she is with McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Wonder Woman from the Endless Winter Wave and Ciri from Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt. Here she is with some very different type of monsters, Lanyard Toys, City Hunter Predator, and Xenomorph Drone. Here she is with Jazzwares Spartan Collection Master Chief and Noble 6. And finally, here she is with Diamond Select Lady Death from the Marvel Select Thanos set, and me from the Valaverse Action Force Steel Brigade. I think it goes without saying that I love this figure, and of course I am going to be biased towards this figure because this is the Universal Monsters, and I'm just excited that I'm actually getting figures of these characters. Once again, I know NECA has their Universal line out there, but there's something about it that, like, the NECA brand, I feel, is very detailed and it looks very good, but I feel like they just take themselves a little too seriously with the Universal Monsters. And the Universal Monsters are very camp. Like, let's all be honest. And that's one of the reasons why they've endured. That's one of the reasons why people love them. That's one of the reasons why they're still watched every Halloween. Okay? And I feel like Jada really captures the heart, the essence, just what makes Universal Monsters Universal Monsters. And the Bride is no different. I absolutely love the Bride. I have issues with the articulation, especially in the arms. It's a little stiff. The gown does kind of hamper her leg movement, but it's the Bride of Frankenstein. She's not going to be getting down into any, funky ninja spin kicks. So I can deal with that. I think the face portrait is a fantastic likeness of the actress. I think the screaming head is a fantastic likeness of the actress. I really like the electro-pylons and the chains that she comes with, and I think she is a fantastic companion piece to the Frankenstein's monster. And even though she has red in the lips and a little bit of color in the eyes and a rudiness in the cheeks, that because of her natural coloring in the figure, very gray skin tone, black and white hair, white gown, I feel like you can match her up either with the monochrome black and white version of the monster, or you can match her up with the colored version of the monster. The box, once again, just like with Frankenstein, you can reuse this box. The figure was strapped in there. She was strapped in there, but like once I cut the ties out, pressure was still holding her in the box. So this is very good for in-box collectors, or if you're like me, where you're pretty much just going to use this usually at Halloween for Halloween decorations, you can put them back in the box to store them away for next year. So that's what I have for you today. Jada Toys, Universal Monsters, Bride of Frankenstein. And I am so happy that towards the tail of October here, we're getting back into the monsters. We're getting back into what makes Halloween great. I really hope you enjoyed a look at this one, because this is really probably one of my favorite figures that I have right now. Just because I think it looks so good, I think it plays so good, and it's the Bride of Frankenstein from Universal. Come on. So we're going to be taking a look at more of the Universal Monsters that I have. We still got the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and of course, we have Dracula coming up. So until then, my friends, happy Halloween. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.